Yo, what's up with y'all, man? I hope you're doing good. If you're new and you're a fan of the NBA, subscribe to this channel. So let's get straight into it. I said subscribe.
Money longer, shout out bros, keep my eyes in the sky, cause that's where I'm moving. Say they wanna read my mind.
Before we get into the content, I of course have to give a shout out to the sponsors of this video, SeatGeek. Now I expect everyone who is watching this right now to already know who these dudes are. But if you don't know about them for some reason, let me give you a quick hand and put you on real quick. SeatGeek is a ticket app that makes the ticket buying process so much easier for you. They out a 0 to 10 score on each ticket so you can know if you're getting a good or bad deal. Green being good, of course, and red being bad. And you guys, my supporters, my dudes, can get $20 off of your first purchase by using my promo code Mojo99. Shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. I'll leave links in the description so you can go ahead and brutalize them. Now on to the video. For the most part in the NBA, in order for a team to be successful, you need a star player or two, a good strong front office with some common sense, a well-rounded roster with good chemistry, and of course a good head coach. Now that last part right there, a good head coach is needed because the head coach is the guy who's supposed to make sure the star player or players mesh well together with the rest of these guys. He holds everyone accountable, he runs a system that complements his dudes, and of course he manages minutes as well and all that other itty-bitty stuff. Depending on the personnel and just how good the roster is overall, for the most part it's necessary to have an at least average head coach. I'm going to use the Milwaukee Bucks for an example. So over the past few years, I'm sure we can all agree on this. The Bucks for the most part have been a bit disappointing. Now I'm not going to blame all the misfortune on the head coach because that's not how it works. It is not Jason Kidd's fault that Don Maker is buns. And it's not his fault either that Jabari Parker just didn't work out for them. And on top of that, they also got ran by the injury train a couple times too. All that happened with them over the past few years, which caused them to be so meh. And their coaching situation, Jason Kidd really didn't help that much at all throughout that certain period of time. Jason was viewed as a pretty suspect coach because the offense that the Bucks ran wasn't creative at all, and he made too many questionable moves defensively too. So once the Bucks got rid of him, they hired the next man up, and the next man up after him that they got was the intern coach, Joe Prutney, I believe. Yeah, him. Yeah, he wasn't that good either. So because of their coaching situation and other events, the Bucks could never really meet expectations. Even when everyone was healthy, things were still disastrous. But now that they brought in an actual head coach in Mike Budenholzer, things are starting to turn around for them very quickly. As I explained in a couple videos in the past about Coach Bud, he's a damn good quality coach who's well respected all around the league. And the systems that he's incorporated and been a part of is the reason why he won Coach of the Year a couple seasons ago and saw much more success in his early coaching career than expected. He's a huge part of the reason why the Bucks have gotten off to such a strong start already. Hold on real quick, before I continue on with the video, I just want to let you guys know something really quick. I don't wish unemployment on anyone really. Except for these guys. Because like they get paid millions to do this task. And they're not doing a very good job at what they do either. So like as much as I'd hate to see someone lose their job, you deserve to lose your job. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off with Scott Brooks, former coach for the Oklahoma City Thunder and soon to be former coach for the Washington Wizards. Look man, the Wizards just as a whole have been exactly what I thought they would be. An absolute catastrophe. And like I said earlier, all the blame should never ever be placed on just one person. It's all a collective effort. Some players may be disappointing, injuries happen, or chemistry may be off. But in this case, it's really non-existent. John Wall, Bradley Beal, Otto Porter, Kelly Oubre, Morris. These dudes have been playing together for a minute now. Chemistry should not be what's holding this team back right now, but it is, and Scott Brooks is not helping their situation in the slightest way. Now, I can already predict what some of you probably might say in the comments. A few of you guys might try to put the Wizards' struggle on the loss of Dwight Howard. As in the making of this video, he hasn't played a single game yet. I mean, like, come on, let's be real here. Like, are you really going to use that as an excuse? Even though Dwight ain't playing, they still should be at least 500. There is no excuse to be this cheeks on the court. They freaking lost to the Kings and they went ahead and lost to the Clippers. There is no excuse to be this bad. As I said in any of my other videos when I mentioned the Wizards recently, this is the most amount of talent that they've had on their roster ever since they started the John Wall era. So what's next for them? What must be done in order for them to reverse the dark path that they're headed into? Well, I think the obvious is to remove someone who's been a part of that core for a while now. But right before they do that, I honestly think that they just need to get rid of Scott Brooks first and see if someone else can bring in a new culture and identity to this team. Because Scott, he ain't doing nothing good for this team right now at all. He's doing pretty much the exact same thing that he did back in OKC. He rode the backs of 3 future Hall of Famers and MVPs, and of course that made him look really good. And luckily for him, for a certain amount of time, no one really had any complaints. Because what he was doing worked due to KD, Russ, and Harden being so good, and they just easily bail him out. But now that he's in Washington though, he doesn't have anyone who's even near the level of those 3 guys. And he has Wall and Beal instead, and you know, those guys are good, but they just aren't elite like that. His late game decisions, substitutions, and play calling is rough in my eyes. The Wizards are a really predictable team in almost every situation, so I think that they should make a move if they haven't gotten things figured out at least 40 games into the season. And the first move, of course, has to start with Scott Brooks. Fire him, get rid of him, and see what another coach can do with this good talent, but broken chemistry. So old boy Scott is the first victim on my list, sadly. Not really sadly, but you know, he gotta go. Next up on my list is someone very similar to him. In fact, Scott got fired for this dude right here, Billy Donovan. Now, if you've been around my channel for the past year, you would know that I've been hollering since last year that Billy has got to go. Now, I don't think that he's as bad of a head coach compared to Scott Brooks. He's definitely better, at least to me. But the problem with him is that he kinda has the same issue as Scott Brooks. Dude is just relying on pure star power in order to be successful, rather than getting good offensive schemes and game plans going on a consistent basis. Like for instance, I don't know if you guys really have noticed this, but throughout the end of games and clutch situations, I have never seen a proper offensive play ran and just inbound the ball to Russ and everyone else. Get the hell out of the way. He just gets away with it though because Russ is such an unstoppable force at times. Now, with that said, I don't solely blame him for OKC's struggles these last few years. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook straight up choked in 2016, and that's that. And when KD left, the Oklahoma City Thunder didn't really have much to work with at all. Then last year, as we all know, he was almost placed in the exact opposite situation. There was a lot of offensive talent on their roster last year, or at least that's what we all thought. But bam, Andre Roberson out of nowhere, who was a vital piece to their team, went down with a season-ending injury. Then they also had to deal with Melo resisting to come off the bench. Oh, and there's this other thing that's an issue too that I kind of peeped out. Here's the thing though, I haven't seen it in person actually, because if I tried, I'd probably be arrested for trespassing and banned from their energy arena or whatever they call it for the rest of my life. So yeah, this is not a fact, alright? But I wholeheartedly feel like Billy Donovan has a very hard time making his presence felt in the locker room. You know, I really have a hard time believing that Russell Westbrook and everybody else in their locker room, Carmelo Anthony, actually respected him and listened to his requests. The only reason I feel that way is because of body language and the vibe that he gives out whenever he gets to the huddle. I don't really know, man. Maybe it's just me who feels that way. If you're an OKC fan or just a person who watches OKC quite often, let me know if you feel the same in the comments. It just feels like he doesn't have any authority or say over any of these guys. Maybe it's just the fact that he is paired up with Russ. As we all know, Russ is an ultra alpha dog, and maybe that hurts him and that's what is preventing him from showcasing his actual brain. I think that actually may be the case. We all know Russ is gonna Russ and he don't really listen to nobody. So maybe that's the case and Scott Brooks and Billy Donovan really isn't the problem. Who knows? So far we have Scott Brooks and Billy Donovan's name on my list. Next is Tom Thibodeau. Now obviously Tom and the Wolves have been all over the news recently in the NBA community for all the wrong reasons. Okay, so not only was Tom chosen to be the head coach for this team, he was also the GM until very recently. I believe last week he got his power stripped and management wanted him to just focus on solely coaching. Alright, look, so the only reason why the Wolves are still in this extremely awkward situation between Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, and Andrew Wiggins is because of Tom Thibodeau. Dude is literally riding Jimmy's nuts so hard right now, and he does not want to let go. He insists on keeping it. What I'm about to say right now might bleed into a future video that I have planned out for the future. But it has to be said, one of the worst things an organization can do is giving the head coach the ability to choose who they want to sign, trade, and decide to let go. This is absolutely horrible because every single coach in the NBA, I don't care who you are, they have a personal connection and bias with their players, and that could lead to them not doing their job and not doing what's best for their organization because they might have a bias for a certain player. I can pull up the facts and just go off the dome with this and give you guys hella point after point, but you know, I'ma chill and let that ammo fly another day and save it for whenever I decide to post that video. Hopefully no one steals my idea. Back to what I was saying though. Not only has Tom been screwing this team off of the court, but he's been doing them dirty on the court as well. Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Those guys are pretty athletic players, I'd say, but due to the pace that they play at, they really can't use that to their advantage. The roster just as a whole isn't really right for them. It's just meh and more of an awkward fit if anything. So that is my list so far. Now, to be fair, I don't think any of these guys should be fired on the spot, except for Tibbs. I personally would give Scott and Billy some more time this season, but if things don't end up getting better for them as the season starts to progress, then their time has come. There's no excuse for either of these dudes. Oklahoma and the Wizards should at least be a top 6 seed in each of their conferences. There's no type of excuse no one can tell me. So that is my list. Is there anyone else that you guys think could get fired possibly this season? Hold on, wait. Before you leave the video, just stick around for just a little bit longer. Earlier today, I heard that Luke Walton was getting pressed by Magic Johnson to start winning. Damn, so that means that Luke Walton might get fired too if things don't change soon for the Lakers. Huh? I don't think that's fair at all. Luke by far has the most pressure on his back out of every single head coach in the NBA right now. He got LeBron on his team, alright, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, but like, goddamn, that's LeBron. That's a whole headache right there. And then he also got Rondo, Lance, and Beasley, and then there's a whole bunch of random young players as well. There's a whole lot going on with this team, and since LeBron isn't a seamless fit, you know, it's gonna take these dudes a while to get things going. So unless Magic Johnson somehow gets like Jesus to coach this team, the Lakers, no matter what, will probably end the season the same way. Do you guys realize that we're not even 20 days into the NBA season, and he's already over here getting pressed by his boss? Anyways, man, I'm getting slightly off topic here. Scott Brooks, Billy Donovan, and Tom Thibodeau are the 3 coaches who need to be fired soon. Alright, B-roll, let me know down below in the comments right now how many likes do you think we can get on this video? 100, 200, 300, or 400? I feel like we could go ahead and get that 400. Why not? But this is the end of the video, man. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, make sure you leave a like, and I'll get right with you.
No way, remember back when I couldn't get a play, no home, I ain't have a place to stay, I got to work, made the surf, free the way, Told my girl who'd ever thought.